You're on the Joy News channel. This is the Pulse, which will bring you a number of stories later on. But for now, we have a bit of a development happening here in Accra, where the Ghana Journalists Association, together with the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, there's a press briefing as we speak ongoing at the press center here in Accra, which we need to bring to you. The president and other leading members of GIBA are set to address the press. We can now cross over and bring you some live pictures.
Sunkwa-Mills, he is the president, president of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, part of the consortium that are doing this press conference today. Next to Mr. Sunkwa-Mills is the executive secretary of GIBA. That's Gloria Hianji. Next to Gloria Hianji is Mr. Kingston. Mr. Kingston is the acting executive secretary of Pringpag. Pringpag is the Private Newspapers Publishers Association of Ghana, who are also part of this consortium, speaking to the issues of attacks on journalists in Ghana today. Let me also go ahead and introduce the executives that we have here, the hardworking executives of the Ghana Journalists Association. Kofi Yeboah can be missed. To my left, General Secretary Kofi Yeboah. To my left, Kofi Yeboah. And to my right, who said a prayer for us, Organizing Secretary Dominic Noji. Myself, Rebecca Ekpe, the Public Affairs Officer. And I think without much ado, let me go ahead and introduce and bring to the podium to address you the hard-working president. Please, an applause for him. The hard-working president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Mr. Albert Jumfor. Mr. Albert Jumfor. Let's welcome him with a round of applause, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Able Public Affairs Officer, Madam Rebecca Amasewa Ekpe. Good afternoon to you all. The President and Executive Secretary of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, the Acting Executive Secretary of the Private Newspaper and Online Publishers Association of Ghana, the leadership of the Ghana Journalists Association present here, colleague media practitioners, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
You didn't respond. Why? This afternoon, 3 key institutions with representation on the National Media Commission, and I stress, with representation on the National Media Commission, NMC, I've invited you here to address some pertinent issues in the country's media landscapes, particularly the recent cases of assault on journalists and related matters. We are here to express grave concerns at the recent attacks on media practitioners and organizations. The phenomenon is alarmingly increasing in frequency, and as a media fraternity, we cannot sit aloof and allow the situation to get out of hands. The 1992 Constitution clearly states the rights, freedoms, and independence of the media, and how we are practiced without any form of control, interference, or hindrance. There are other existing laws that govern the work of the media and its practitioners in Ghana. Moreover, as media practitioners, we are enjoined by our responsibility to constantly inform and educate our audience of happenings in the country. It will be recorded that on Saturday, October 7, 2023, during United Television's UTV's primetime entertainment show, United Showbiz, some activists of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, invaded the studio of UTV, disrupting the live program, assaulting 2 employees of the station, and further threatening to assault the hostess and guests on the show. The Ghana Journalists Association, GJ, the Independent Broadcasters Association, GIBA, and the Private Newspaper and Online Publishers Association of Ghana, PRIMPAC, have taken note of the ruling by the Achimota District Court on the 16 hooligans who were arrested and prosecuted for attacking the studios of UTV. Excuse me. On Monday, October 16th, 2023, the hooligans were charged with the offense of conspiracy to commit crime and rioting and arraigned before the Achimota District Court. However, while commending the police and the court for the speedy prosecution and conviction, we are of the opinion that under the circumstances and based on video evidence of the happenings on that fateful evening, the charges preferred against them were not far-reaching because their actions should have resulted in the investigation and attraction of the following charges. And I name them. 1, unlawful entry. 2, rioting. 3, rioting with weapons. 4, assault and battery. 5, causing harm. 6, threat of harm. 7, unlawful assembly. 8, offensive conduct conducive to breach of the peace. 9, forcible entry. And 10, allegedly carrying offensive weapons. The charges of conspiracy to commit crime and rioting, in our opinion, are inadequate, soft-handed, and minimalistic, to say the least. We acknowledge that the judge has the discretion of either imposing a custodial sentence or fine, which is also a form of punishment under our criminal jurisprudence, which may have informed the magistrate to opt for the imposition of a fine. It is our view that the option of fine imposed is not deterrent enough. That may largely be due to the fact that the charge preferred by the police were not thorough enough. We believe if all the offenses mentioned above had been investigated and preferred against the tax, stiffer punishments would have been imposed on them than the fine of 200 penalty units each. We appeal to the judiciary to consider offenses against the media as aggravating offenses, especially when these actions are premeditated, because such actions have the tendency to put fear in the media, leading to self-censorship and thus promoting the culture of silence, which is inimical to the concept of media freedom and independence as guaranteed by the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. Nevertheless, the media fraternity has been vindicated on our position that what happened on that fateful evening was reprehensible, to say the least. At this stage, we, the leadership of all media associations, are aware that the options available to us is to consider supporting our affected members, to either urge the prosecution to consider appealing against the sentence or criticize the decision. We have, however, referred the matter to our lawyers for advice on the way forward. The court has spoken, and we, as law-abiding citizens, accept the decision of the court believing that this will serve as a signal to all and sundry that never again should anybody attempt to attack a media practitioner or a media organization for whatever reason, since there are laid down procedures for seeking redress in the event of media breaches. Again, on Friday, October 13, 2023, while carrying out her duties as a journalist and reporter covering the vetting of the parliamentary candidate, UFO, of the National Democratic Congress in the Ododio constituency in the Greater Accra region, a City FM reporter was assaulted. This incident should be widely condemned and treated with the repulsion they deserve. Earlier this week, leadership of the media umbrella bodies paid a courtesy call on the management of City FM CCTV to obtain first-hand information on the attack on their female reporter or staff. Till date, there has been no statement or update from the police on whether they are getting closer to arresting the people who attacked the reporter. We call on the police to act swiftly to ensure that the culprits are brought to book. Finally, we recognize that public enlightenment is the forerunner of justice and the foundation of democracy. As such, our duty as media practitioners is to seek the truth always and provide a fair and comprehensive account of events and issues through thoroughness and honesty. Much is expected of the media in carrying out our role as watchdogs of society, and this should be undertaken with a high sense of integrity without infringing on the rights of individuals and the society in general. We would therefore like to use this opportunity to caution all media practitioners and media organizations to prioritize their personal security, desist from engaging in excesses or allowing their platform to be used to fan or inflame by broadcast programs, language, passions, and activities that have the tendency to lead to the breach of the peace we all need for our socio-economic development. We wish to remind all media practitioners that media freedoms come with responsibilities. The framers of the 1992 Constitution, for good reason, included the responsibilities of the media in the same chapter 12, enjoining all media practitioners to be reasonable in practicing the profession in the interest of national security, public order, public morality, and for the purpose of protecting the reputations, rights, and freedom of other persons. This, therefore, implies that no media platform, be it traditional or virtual, has the right to infringe on the right of any person or seek to malign, disrespect, or tarnish the image and integrity of a person. There are more refined ways of expressing an opinion or disagreement without resorting to use of insulting and degrading language on our platforms or allowing ourselves to be used to propagate such unpleasantries. The GJ Code of Ethics, the GIBA Code of Conduct, and other rules and regulations clearly provide direction on how to practice the media profession in a decorous manner. In conclusion, our media platforms are not marketplaces for insult or the propagation of hate speech, but for the exchange of ideas. We want to thank you all this afternoon for your attention. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. President Albert Jumfo. Thank you for that inspiring speech. A round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You heard that the media is not a marketplace. It's a place for exchange of ideas, and that's what we seek to promote. Mr. Sunkwa-Mills, if we can have you up. Mr. Sunkwa-Mills will be speaking to us. A message from the GIBA president, Mr. Cecil Sunkwa-Mills. Let's welcome him.
Good afternoon, members of the media, colleagues, and the executives who are here with us. The bulk of the message you have heard, we have crafted in the last couple of hours between Primpag, the GJA, and Ghana Independent Broadcasters. So, I mean, the main thing that I would touch up with, 2 pointers, is that we like to acknowledge the speed with which we've seen the first prosecution, but noting the pointers that were made by the GJA president on the the type of punishment and the intensity. The other one that is of concern and is that we are actually happy to see for a long time a very quick reaction from the NMC when this happened. However, we want the NMC to move more from the commentary stage, so we want to see them get into a facilitating stage of a lot of things that are happening within our space. There's a lot of interventions that we believe that the NMC should be in the forefront and work with us so that we can achieve and hold on to the expectations that we want to get from the freedom of the press. What I would like to also focus on is that we must focus in-house on our safety as journalists and as media houses. It's important that as we go out to work, especially with this season that is coming up, we have not even reached elections yet. We are at the level where we are at the districts level, and we've already seen sparks of these violence and attacks starting to rear its head. So it's important that whilst we fight on the front as the association and your representatives at that level, we also expect that we take personal responsibility as journalists. We want to remind you of a few things. Maintain your situational awareness anytime you go out. And the second one is the use of protective and identifiable gear. It is very important because especially if you look at the second case also that happened to the lady at City, she was completely and properly dressed, but visibly it was ignored. That allows us to actually take more action. So please, let us remember to use protective gear. We call on media houses to ensure that when your teams go out to work, not just everybody in the team, please give them the necessary protective gear and identifiable gear, because there's a lot that will be happening from now to the election and after. We hope that it will not happen, but we need to be prepared for that. Also, maintain your digital security and your personal security. The work you do so we know the history that happens, so that you cannot, people do not hack into your IDs as journalists and that. So your digital security is important. And be cautious during protests and rallies and demonstrations. We've seen a number of them on the increase in the last couple of months. And we hope that it will come down, but we want to make sure that you are protected. Also, please remember, if anybody threatens you in any way, please report any threat at this stage before it gets to a stage where it becomes something less. On our side, we are planning to also rejuvenate a lot of education, training around this time, so that the awareness, this is the beginning of what we are telling you. For both stations, players, the police, we want to work closer with the police and other bodies that will help to protect us. And even the political parties where the opportunity is given, so we can educate them to educate their people so that they respect the media. We carry their messages that they have across. So if they cannot work with us, that will be a challenge. Last, that we'll also be investing in, and you will see, we always delving deep into the legal knowledge, especially to do with the work that we do, to ensure that we get the best protection for journalists and media houses where you all operate. Thank you.
Thank Thank you very much, Mr. Sunkwa-Mills. Okay, so we'll take another message from Springpark. Mr. George Kingston is representing Mr. Edwin Arthur. Mr. George Kingston is the acting executive secretary of Springpark. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We also like to make a statement on behalf of Springpark in support of today's action. We strongly disagree with the quantum of fine imposed by the court on the individuals who orchestrated and carried out the deplorable attack on panelists in the studios of UTV. The fine is a meager amount that we believe falls far short of serving its intended purpose. That's deterring miscreants from repeating such acts. The attack on panelists within the UTV studios was a blatant violation of the fundamental principles of freedom of speech, expression, and the right to a safe and conducive working environment. Such acts of violence not only pose a direct threat to journalists and media personnel, but also undermine the democratic fabric of our nation. It is our firm belief at Springpark that a stronger and more substantial penalty should have been imposed on the perpetrators of this irresponsible act. By implementing a negligible fine, we fear that the court's decision may inadvertently send a message that such acts of intimidation and violence against media personnel can be tolerated with minimal consequences. Yesterday, I saw a social media post by someone saying that, so minimum say 2,400 per day. I think it's a sad development. We are of the view that a more significant penalty that truly reflects the seriousness of the offense committed would have served as a deterrent not only to the specific individuals involved, but also to potential offenders who may be inclined to replicate such conduct in the future. Springpark reiterates its unwavering commitment to the protection of journalists and the safeguarding of media freedom in Ghana. We stand united in our resolve to promote a society that respects and upholds the rights of media personnel to operate within fear of fiscal violence or intimidation. We strongly believe that it is only through decisive and proportionate legal measures that we can effectively deter miscreants from engaging in acts of violence against journalists and media practitioners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. George Kingston, for that response. I think the message is clear. A more deterrent fine would have been much more received, maybe a much more deterrent fine would have been much more welcome. I think that's what he is pointing out and pushing across. The message is clear. At this point, let me invite the General Secretary, Kofi Yeboah, to respond to NMC statement that was released this morning. Kofi Yeboah.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. This morning, whilst preparing for this afternoon's press conference, we had cited a press statement issued by the NMC, and there are a few concerns about the press statement we think we need to put across. By so doing, it is not like we are having a banter or we are having a fight with the regulator of the industry. But we think that when these things are left unaddressed, they may cause us bigger harm than what we are facing now. And the NMC had indicated the need for us to look at the way forward, to focus on the way forward, which we perfectly agree with. And also the fact that we should be excited by the speedy prosecution and determination of the case. Indeed, if you may recall, when the incident happened, we had issued a statement and called on the police to fast track their investigations and prosecution of the case. So, and in the present statement, you heard him commend the police and the court. And then the President had also made reference to the Dagon radio case, which occurred in May this year. In that case too, we had commended the police and the court for the speedy prosecution, speedy arrest, investigation and prosecution of the case, and for the court to, in similar vein, determine the case speedily. So we have always appreciated that fact. But if you listen to the President carefully, it doesn't mean because we are interested in speed, and so we should not be interested in substance. In our profession, the work that we do, media, there are some principles we work with, speed and accuracy. But we always say that under no circumstance must speed override accuracy. Because if you arrive first and you didn't get it right, what use would that be? So in that same vein, we are saying that even as we appreciate the speed by which police prosecute the case, we are also interested in how far-reaching the charges are. And from the charges we had itemized, assuming the police had considered them, we would be seeing a stiffer punishment than what we had on our hands. So it is not to suggest that we are not appreciative of what the police have done, but to say that they should do a better job in terms of charging. As for the court, they will determine the case based on the charge sheet. So you may not so much blame the court. Then in the NMC statement, they had made allusion to certain things which we think can hurt the industry. For example, in making reference to the efforts made by the Honorable Minister of Information and the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the NMC statement says the two state officers had a choice and they decided to exercise that choice in favor of media freedom. And that is where we have a problem. In issues to do with media freedom, it is our humble view that there is no choice. Article 21(1)(a) of the Constitution says, all persons shall have the right to freedom of speech and expression, which shall include freedom of the press and other media. And that is a sharp provision, mandatory. It doesn't give you discretion. Article 162 clause 1 says, the freedoms and independence of the media are hereby guaranteed. okay, that is also mandatory. So you can't exercise any choice in that. And the simple understanding is that it is as though the Attorney General and Minister of Justice has a choice to prosecute because somebody is Party A or Party B. He is the Attorney General of the state of Ghana. When he is prosecuting, he doesn't look at the political color you wear. He's prosecuting you because you've committed a crime. And so when somebody has committed a crime, the Attorney General doesn't have a choice that I will prosecute you because you belong to Party A or Party B. He has to prosecute you. The same way, the Minister of Information is a Minister of State, a minister for all, not for one political party. So to suggest that the minister in reporting people who are done wrong, who belong to his political party, was a choice, is something we cannot accept. Because in matters of media freedom, you can't exercise discretion, you can't exercise a choice. If people are not doing it, it doesn't make it right. The mere fact that now or in the past, people were not doing it doesn't make it right. For which reason, if the Attorney General has prosecuted his own party people, we should be waving white handkerchief, or we should be going on a picnic excited. No, we think when you take such view, it is a danger to society. Article 167A of the Constitution mandates the National Media Commission to promote and ensure media freedom and independence. That is what we expect the NMC to do, to promote and ensure media freedom, not to suggest that duty bearers have a choice in ensuring what the Media Commission is supposed to promote. So this is the concern we have, and we think the Media Commission did not address the issue well. We are of the firm belief that matters of media freedom are non-negotiable. They are not matters open for discretion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kofi. Okay.
Yeah, I think, thank you, General Secretary. In short, the leadership of these three umbrella bodies want to state that, in brief, the NMC statement seems to position NMC on a different pedestal, which means that they are siding with government instead of the media practitioners or journalists they are supposed to protect. They are supposed to hear the NMC fighting for the media and not to be spokesperson of government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you very much, General Secretary, for that information. We will be taking questions from the media, those who have questions and concerns. But there's good news here because we have two people from the National Media Commission here present. Behind, we have Mr. Prince Harry Crystal. Mr. Prince Harry Crystal from the National Media Commission behind. So the information is being transmitted live, actually. I mean, in real time. All the message is gone direct to the National Media Commission. We also have Mr. Gabriel Bosompem. Mr. Gabriel Bosompem, a round of applause for him. He's actually one of the two of the Ghana Journalists Association's representatives to the National Media Commission. So the message is being transmitted live to where it needs to.
Ari is a Giba representative.
Oh, double roll.
Yes, Ari is a Giba representative.
So, and he's playing a dual role here. Actually, Mr. Harry Crystal is also here in his capacity as a member, let me say, of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. So he's your rep to the National Media Commission. So actually, the message is double, in fact, direct to them. So thank you very much for that. And we'll take questions for those who have questions. You need to come up, you identify yourself and from which media house that you're coming from. So questions, we'll take your name, your media house. If there are no questions, we'll call it a day.
Yes, come.
Come to the front, to the podium, identify yourself, your media house, and we'll take your question, please.
Okay, when we finish, let me do a summary in chief.
Okay, okay. Okay, but we'll do a quick... James, come to the front. Yes. And speak loudly so we can...
Okay, thank you. My name is James Abeji. I'm from Joy News. My question is to the Giba president. In your presentation, I heard you had concerns over in advising journalists to take their security, personal security, seriously. You had concerns over the dressing of the CTFM journalists, and that we need to. So the question is it your respectful view that media freedom has degenerated to the point that even if we are going to cover political party internal activities, we needed to dress in full armor gear as if we are going to demonstration? That's my question.
That's an interesting question, but I wish you had asked that as an interview after the...
No, don't worry. We'll react to it.
But they would react to... I think that the young lady was properly clothed, according to what was said.
Yes.
And welcome back. Ghana is in a dilemma as it weighs the cost of up to 40% head cut for its Eurobond investors in a bid to restructure its maturing debts. Ghana is required to restructure some $10 billion of its external debt as part of the IMF conditionalities for the release of the remainder of its $3 billion bailout following the release of an initial $600 million earlier this year. But this situation could land Ghana into more trouble as any desperate decision could force investors to shut the country out of the international bond market. More on that shortly for you, though. First, listen to the Minister of Finance, Kenneth Verrett, speaking to Joy Business's George Wefe on plans for this restructuring.
The private creditors and the Eurobond, some will say that it could be quite an interesting one because what terms are you offering them to ensure that they come on board? These are private bilaterals. Yes, of course, they would be able to understand Ghana's situation, but a private person, a private bank, really, he's looking at his shareholders, he's looking at his bottom line, he's looking at hitting his targets. It could be an interesting negotiation, some would say.
It will be, but it's not, you know, a situation where very decent returns have been earned over a certain period, and the world has gone through this difficulty which has affected all creditors. How then do you restructure the portfolio such that it will be paid over time? So you need to give the country space for the growth and jobs issues that I mentioned, so there will be productivity to be able to sustain it, and also significantly to acknowledge that, you know, we haven't come to this without doing anything. Our domestic debt exchange program was difficult, sacrificial, and so we have burden shared. It's not like we are coming and telling you, well, you haven't done anything. Considerable restructuring in Ghana, where we moved interest rates from maybe an average of 19.2 to 9%. Now that's significant. And so that's all on the table. We have done our part with regards to burden sharing. We have done our part with regards to the economic indicators as to where we go. We've done it in the fastest possible time.
Well, joining me in studio now is Isaac Kofi with our research desk for more on this. We also do have some more persons who will be joining the conversation. But Isaac, thank you for spending some time with us. The Finance Minister confirming to us that that's the way to go. But what are the implications of this restructuring if we were to go with this approach?
Well, I think to be fair enough to start with the proposal on the table and what's in that table. Proposal for the investors. Already the Finance Minister did a presentation somewhere April this year to the investor community, and he told them the reason why Ghana is having this challenge and the steps that Ghana is taking to make sure that we come back to the normal trajectory, and the fact that they should support us in this whole restructuring process and debt relief. So we are certainly looking for debt relief, sort of forgive me a part of how much I owe you. That is what we are looking for. So the proposal on the table is that we are requesting for haircuts not just on interest, but also on principal. Significantly, we are looking for a haircut between 30 to 40%. This is because of the target we have and the BOP financing gap that we are supposed to fill as a result of this restructuring and MOUs that we signed with our, external or international creditors. We are also looking for haircuts on interest. We are saying this haircut should not be more than 5%. And then also we are looking at bringing or reducing some of the maturity. So we are looking at a maximum maturity period of 20 years. So mind you, the last time we went to the market to borrow, we borrowed, and some of the bonds were even up to 30 years tenure. So we are bringing the maturity period closer for the investors. So we are telling them that give us a haircut on principal, give us haircuts on interest, but we'll make sure you get your money probably within a very short period of time than we even anticipated. So that's currently the proposal on the table.
Well, what are the likely implications going with that?
Well, so as for the implications, we've already, experienced the first one, which is, and now it's not that Ghana cannot go to the Eurobond market to borrow. We can go, but when you default or when you're at high risks of default, then it simply tells you that your coupon rate is going to be raised. You are high risk, so those who will be willing to lend to you will also lend to you at a high interest rate. Another risk is that, when we're experiencing all of these economic challenges and our yield curve looking at so many things, some of the original holders of our bonds decided to dump them. So when someone dumps your bond, you do not know whose hands the new bond will be. And so it makes the whole restructuring process very, very complicated for government. We are hoping that it doesn't end up in one of those vulture bondholders who will probably demand more, and it's so difficult, reaching agreements with them. And when you're in debt negotiations or talks with some of these creditors, what they want is their money, because the original holder, some say they've already benefited from a high interest, but they have dumped those bonds. They are gone. Probably you'll be looking at new, holders of your debt. Now, on the screen right now is the external debt portfolio of Ghana. And that will help our viewers to appreciate the problem that we are talking about and the exercise Ghana wants to do. So the total external debt is $30 billion, dollars. This was as of April when the Finance Minister gave us that update in Washington. And he told us that if you look at this $30 billion debt that we owe our external creditors, not all of them is, available or eligible for restructuring. Mind you, some of the multilateral debt that we owe have been excluded, about 9 billion of them. So the bonds or the debt that's eligible for restructuring at this moment is 20 billion. Right. And of this 20 billion, we are looking ahead to restructure or rework about 10.5 billion, which will go ahead to give us that fiscal breathing space that we need in our, fiscal breathing space that we need between 2023 and 2026. But if you also look at the focus area on the commercial component, which is the Euro bonds, we are looking at debt that is the Eurobond credit debt that's around 48% of your total debt stock. So the Eurobond creditors and the commercial creditors, we are looking at a debt portfolio of close to $14.4 billion. That's about 48% of your external debt and also 73% of the restructuring parameter, which is the $20 billion that we are looking for. So Ghana is in a very difficult situation, but if you listen to the finance minister, there seems to be hope that we've actually made, some advancements with our talks with the bilateral guys, where China is now willing to play ball. There's France in the picture. Almost all the countries belonging to the Paris Club are deciding to give us that relief that we need. And I don't know how we are doing this restructuring process, whether it will be a one-off thing, the MOU will be a blanket one for the entire 3 years. Other than that, it means that anytime that Ghana passes a certain review, we have to engage our creditors to make sure that we get the assurances and actual restructuring. I have always been saying that you need to go through all the stages to get the disbursement. You cannot get the entire $3 billion bailout package just by using assurances from your creditors. You need to move from the assurance stage to actual restructuring, agree, sign MOUs. Let us see the magnitude of haircuts that these guys will be giving you. And Blessed, you know already that the problem that we are facing, we need close to $15.5 billion to solve this problem.
Right.
IMF and the World Bank are giving us a total of close to $6 billion. The rest is supposed to come from us. How are you going to generate that? We are supposed to do this through debt restructuring.
And now we've been told that this decision alone has the possibility of shutting us out of the Eurobond market.
Exactly. We are already out. And the risk is that when you perform a debt restructuring or rework with this huge asking that the creditors will give you between 30 to 40% haircut, and it tells you that it will take a long time probably before you even return to the market. In 2007, when we made our debut, we borrowed quite a lot in 2007 and then from then onwards. But the 2015 scenario was a bit different. When we opted for our 16th IMF program, there was no restructuring. And so although we lost access, it took us just 6 months. And we were back to the capital market to borrow again. We were able to borrow more than 1 billion in 2015.
I see.
But this time around, the fact that our debt levels are unsustainable and we have to do a debt restructuring tells you that the dynamics have changed. And the fact that you are doing restructuring has exposed you to reducing your ability of returning to the capital markets. Remember that some of these ratings agencies will come at you again. Already, some of our bonds are in restricted default and all of those things. And we don't really look good. We need to do more to actually have that full access to the international capital markets, again, where we get usually between $1 to $3 billion every year to show up our budget.
Okay, Isaac, just stay on tight. Richard Echampo is a member of the Finance Committee, also MP for BI, is joining the conversation now. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us. Your impression about government's approach towards dealing with this external debt restructuring and how that possibly the approach we're taking now could shut us out of the Eurobond market. What are your main concerns about this? It appears,
can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear, sir. I was just asking your initial impression about government's approach towards this.
Where we are now, we don't have any option than to go and beg for this debt restructuring that we're talking about. And government is looking at between 30 to 40% haircuts. So we need to support government to do that because there's no any other option than to go and beg for debt forgiveness. I just returned from Marrakesh, attended the IMF World Bank spring meeting. we did some sideline meetings and we picked some intelligence that it's going to be tough for us, but we need to push for it, especially dealing with this Chinese government. They are the major creditors that we are looking at. I know many bondholders, if you put all together, they were going to gain some 44% yield, and it's going to reduce to 38%. So, ab initio, they are going to lose about 6% of their yield. And the question is, are we going to sustain all these things? Domestically, what is the plan? What is our inflow? Are we going to embark on revenue generation so that we can give indicative that the 20-year period that we're talking about, would Ghana be in the better position to pay back those debts? These are some of the conversations we need to have because we are reducing some bonds from 30-year period to 20-year period. What are the inflows which will enable you to pay the principal and the interest? Because the haircut we're talking about is not only on the principal, it's on the interest and the principal. So we are in a very tough corner, but we need to push for it because as it stands now, there's nothing we can do. We need to go and beg them so that we can also do other things because our debt is not sustainable. Right now, we're looking at around 600 billion Ghana cedis. So how do we pay this interest on the coupon rate and the rest? So it's very tough time for Ghana, but what do? We need to go in for it.
What memo did you issue as a committee to the Minister for Finance on this approach of the external debt restructuring? Because certainly a portion of it might need parliamentary consideration or engagement.
Yes, Parliament will resume 31st of this month, and the budget will also be presented in November, middle of November, thereabouts. So the Finance Committee is expecting the Finance Minister to have some engagement because many of the facilities came to Parliament. We gave the approval. So if the tenor is going to change, meaning the terms of the facility is going to change, we gave approval on certain assumptions. So certainly the minister must come back to the Finance Committee so that we look at the new terms that they are going to engage with the creditors so that if we think it's going to help the country sustain the kind of trajectory the Finance Minister wants to walk all of us through, then we need to give a different approval so that the minister can go ahead and engage the creditors. Because the investors are also watching. If there's a back-end from Parliament, well, political parties can change. Finance Minister may go the next month or the next day, but Ghana is still Ghana. So they may need parliamentary approval to give them some comfort that come what may, they will get their investment. So at least if they get the parliamentary approval, it's going to also give the creditors some comfort so that they can also deal with the country, not dealing with an individual as a finance minister.
And what's exciting is that you are in Marrakesh yourself, a number of engagements coming up where, of course, I was just reading a couple of days ago, Zambia also making some suggestions to the Republic of Ghana. They seem to suggest that we need some capping on the level of borrowing that we do. Probably they feel that should be done through legislation. Zambia is advising the Republic of Ghana in that regard, probably because of their experience. Is that something you'd want to look at on the Finance Committee?
Yeah, it's a long overdue, my brother, because you can't borrow for borrowing's sake. Do you understand? When you are taking a facility or adding on loans, you look at your capacity to repay the loans.
Hello, sir.
Go ahead and borrow. By the end of the day, you ask yourself, is this sustainable? What is the cash flow that will enable me to pay this facility either in 5 or 10-year period? So if you are accumulating debt, make sure that there will be productivity on the other hand so that you can expand your GDP, there will be growth, you create employment so that people will generate more revenue for you to pay the debt. But you can't just be borrowing, looking at one side, without necessarily looking at the other side, which is productivity, the cash flow, which will help you to pay back the loan. So you ask yourself, you've increased your debt portfolio from 120 billion to some 600 billion. ask yourself, how are you going to pay back the facility? But previously, we can talk about the trouble gas project, the T3, which is generating revenue for us to pay some of the loans that we collected. So if you look at even the what do you call it, the passenger throughput at the T3, any loan that you took for the T3 can pay for itself. If you look at the trouble gas processing plants,
Right.
any loan that we took, the CDB loan that we took for that project, a trouble gas project can pay for that facility. But let's ask ourselves, all these loans, what are the projects that we've undertaken with this facility which can pay for itself? So there must be a capping, so that when the red line is being crossed, you will know, you get to know that you are getting to the danger zone. You can't just be.
Okay, looks like we've lost the Honourable Member of Parliament there. Apologies for the network challenges. But this afternoon as well, we're focusing on the Volta flooding because there's danger ahead for thousands of residents in parts of the Volta region affected by the flooding caused by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. As some of the displaced persons resort to the polluted water for being as being the source of the water that they would want to drink. And we know that the Vice President has been visiting the area. He's been addressing a gathering there. Let's listen.
Yo, miapa dukplola balentito ebe yenyik bane togbe kata kple mamao otutu na milo.
I am here because of what has happened to all of us in these communities over the 8 districts for 3 regions, Greater Accra, Eastern and Volta regions. That has resulted from the spillage of the Akosombo Dam that has flooded our communities across these 3 districts.
Yo, badaku tu polola na nana mianyabe yele mie dome egbie otutu ye kokule jogbovoye jole mie jisikenya Akosombo Dam ye na oda selection mo va chomi ye echi ye va cho nutuma fun region amaton Eastern Greater Accra le Volta ye wode miafa nutuma no fo gede yeta ye fa bie be ava fa konyi plemi ne yakbo mi ohenye ha gbo.
We are facing a major disaster, a major tragedy. This, I am told, is the biggest flooding disaster we have seen since 1963. So it's been 60 years since the last such disaster took place. And it has affected so many livelihoods, so many people, so much property, so many farms, so many fishing implements and so on. So it has devastated our livelihoods around this area. And when I look at the community in Sokoe, when I was coming in, so many places are flooded, so many houses. And it is a very sad event. And as I am here with you, let me really express my sympathies. Baba Nami.
Madaku dukplola be yesevanto be jogbovoye va tu mile mionu tume yenya koto be echi ododo yenye nyanya tokeki ake tu mi po le mionu tume afoku ya ejo zigbanto efebla tenkie kafero aga joalie aho mienofo nyagbeledefo amofo kasinonu ochi echime enye nuye defune mi abejidudu nene se ye va egbie be ava fa konyi plemi ni adon ble ni apale nono la nola agbe.
The biggest concern for government is to make sure all the displaced peoples and the affected communities are given the support that they need to get over this particular phase, because we first have to provide relief, provide support, and then look at longer term, how we look at housing, look at properties, look at agriculture. And because of that, we have set up 20 holding centers across the 8 districts which are affected, so that people are sent there and provided relief items for now, so that we can look at how to best support going forward. The government has formed an interministerial committee specifically dedicated to what has happened and how to deal with it. The Ministry of Agriculture has been charged with looking at how to support farmers and fishermen when this phase is over, because we still have rising water levels, and we have to deal with this phase of the temporary relief before we move into the more permanent solutions.
Yo, madaku togbeo mamao dukpolola be dibia na yanyami be jidudu wota dojini kote planet ogbofo enye be yo tibi akpogbo be amedesia de ledete le eyiye me ogbofo ejo le mi dia nu emi awo sika mi afanu dudu be mi anyimlofo wata kpogbo nemi pelengu ha wodo committee alanyi sika la kpo bobe amedesia de ye na chicho afa wale kulangu mie novi o na wakble mo echi ha chowa wakpogbo be agble defe yo na chicho do fe kpo agble de nyaoji wado dodo atuma akpogbo be wotata ukpogbo sika eji ajete defe ndesia da atafo akbe.
In putting together the support for the various communities, we will take into account all the needs that have been expressed. To be expressed a lot of needs for the community, and we will take all of that into account as the community, as the government prepares the support packages to the community. So thank you very much for all of the requests that were put together. It will help us to fashion out the solutions.
Yo, madaku diplola okpalanti tola jiji ben jidudu la lankule bebio kata pelu hehio na yatogbega atasi be duko no akpele on no awone yo ton bodo ye yo le klalo be ya woto pli efi hao ya akpele eduko mu le tobofo e to le meji na ndesi ade no ayi jinwen.
One, as I said earlier, this is the biggest flooding disaster since 1963. What is so remarkable, and we thank God Almighty, is that throughout this particular disaster, we have not lost a life. So we thank God for that, because in many places, when you have this scale of disaster, when even story buildings are submerged underwater, you have loss of life. But I would like to thank NADMO, the Army, the Navy, Volta River Authority for being very proactive, because even though we don't wish for a disaster, we have to prepare for it. And last year in May, they held simulation exercises to look at what to do in case there is a disaster. Involve the Navy, the Army, the NADMO, and all of them. They worked well together. So when we had this disaster, they already had a plan as to where to take people, how quickly to evacuate people, and all of that. The boats and all of that were in place. And this is why we did not suffer any loss of life. And so I want to thank NADMO, VRA.
Well, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in the Volta region, they're addressing victims of the flooding. As we understand, the VRA says it will continue the spillage, but calls have emerged for Parliament to be recalled as, there's pressure ongoing for deliberations on an emergency response to the victims. Let's take a statement coming through from the Kwame Nkrumah Center for Ideology and Good Leadership, Governance and Leadership, actually, as we see SEPs here on the screens, indicating that with the aftermath of the Ekosombo Dam spillage and the catastrophic challenges confronting many communities, families, people, especially women and children, there is the need for some urgent and pragmatic intervention to manage this situation, and part of it, the group believes, is the need for Parliament to be reconvened. Let's speak to the Executive Director for the Centre, who is joining us in studio now. Grateful for your time, sir, here on the Pulse. And of course, Kojo Afari-Yeboah is the Executive Director for the Centre. Thank you, and thank you for joining us. You've been monitoring this situation. As the Vice President was indicating, we've not seen this in the last 60 years or plus. You're saying that Parliament would have to be recalled for this. Why so, and why not wait at least till the end of the month when the House properly resumes?
All right. Thank you very much, my brother. I think we will need to put the issues in proper perspective. The issue about dam spillage and flooding is not only what we are witnessing right now.
Right.
We know year in, year out, the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso is often released, and a lot of communities suffer from the spillage of this water, and then farmlands, communities, their household, usually their livelihoods. But we don't seem to be finding solutions to it. It comes, we manage it somehow, it goes, the next year it recurs again. Here we find it, not Bagri Dam being released to be able to protect the land when there are excesses of water. But this is our own Akosombo Dam. The VRA knows from history that when there is excesses of water, it causes a lot of damage. This particular incident, usually most of the reports seem to be coming from the Volta region, but it's actually affecting about 3 regions. The eastern region, the Volta region, of course, and then part of Greater Accra region from the Shah Usudoku area heading towards the Adan area. So the situation is more than what we seem to take it to be. We believe that in such an enormous catastrophic situation as we have, we need to look at it in a more holistic terms. You hear the Vice President office saying the larger plan, the larger plan. What is the larger plan? Okay, so if there was a plan in place in the first place, I don't think we will get to where we are right now. He also mentions that there are 3 communities from 3 different districts that they've had some shelter being provided for them. We are saying that there are 7 districts which have been affected by this disaster. So we need to be very truthful about it in the first place, and also make sure that we put the proper intervention. Now, we also look at this, that it has to take a very long-term intervention, not the water just spilling away and then providing some few reliefs for them. There are more than, people are reporting 4,000, 8,000, 12,000. No, there are over 24,000 people who have been affected by this situation. Right. And as I mentioned, it's more than 3 regions, more than 7 districts. So it means that it's bigger than what we have anticipated. Yeah. It is important right now that we have a more holistic address to this. That's why we believe that if Parliament is recalled, we should take this as a state of emergency.
In fact, I'm just looking at the facility, and it reminds me that you're coming from the Kwame Nkrumah Institute or Center for Ideology, Governance and Leadership. The brain behind this facility itself is our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. I mean, looking at what's happening now, do you feel that we failed to plan along this facility, a reason for which we're having what we're having today?
Certainly we failed to plan along, because you see, when Nkrumah was planning, it was not just a dam. It's the Akosombo Dam is the Akosombo Township. Okay.
Right.
Then you come down, then the plan for the Bound Dam as well, irrigation projects around it. So it's a very holistic plan that was in place. Okay. Now, 50 years down the line going forward, what do we see? Are we managing the dam? And it's all peripherals that are being added to it. There are communities that the VRA calls settler communities, Germany and so many other places that and sometimes even goes, perhaps maybe because we are talking about the spillage and coming downwards, right. But there are so many other communities upwards, right. Which are also affected in that way. There are even wood stamps in some communities that causes both accident and stuff. What we are saying is that the Akosombo Dam is here. It's a huge investment. We've been benefiting from it, but it also has its other sides. Yes, this may be someone who could call force majeure. It's rainfall, excessive rainfall that's increased the water. But we know these things happen. Okay. Have NADBO been overwhelmed by the situation? Yes. Let's look at even the interventions that we are putting in place. We hear they are giving mattresses to put where the whole place is flooded. So we are saying that they should be able to have a more comprehensive plan. And it's not just going to be putting some committees together and then they do one or two things. We don't know what exactly the end becomes. If Parliament is recalled, people are suffered. Their representatives should come. And we are also asking Parliament because it is not only this spillage that causes the problem. Let's have a more holistic intervention on all other such situations that happens. The Bagri Dam, the Akosombo Dam, the Bui Dam, should anything of this nature also happen. But we think there is an urgency on the situation right now where people need children. We don't even know how many children are being affected. We don't know how many women are being affected. This is something that is going to take us about 2, 3, 4, perhaps 6 months to be able to address.
Ultimately, that decision for a state of emergency can only be declared by the president, even if Parliament is recalled. What would you want to happen in that state, which we can't have now, knowing that the president himself has been there, the vice president, even as we speak, is in the community? Can't we just ramp up support? Aside the declaration of a state of emergency, I guess what the community needs is relief. At this time.
You say what community needs. We are saying communities. So it's not just one specific community we are talking about. We are talking about a huge area. We are talking about 3 regions. We are talking about 7 districts. Okay, so it is not just one community that we are looking at. The repercussions of what is happening with the spillage, it's far beyond what we are looking. Yes, the president has been there, the vice president is there, other key government government personnel have been there. But we think they are not giving us the right information, or they are not giving the public the right information. Then they are not also being specific in terms of the kind of interventions that they are giving them.
What would you want to see?
I would want to see a shelter. A huge shelter. When I say shelter, it's not only where they sleep. I've mentioned earlier, their children. Are they going to go to school? Where are they going to go to school?
Right.
So you provide a community where you can also add certain amenities to it for some immediate, medium or immediate term that they will be able to benefit from. Health facilities. Do we know that there are any health facilities being made available to these communities? Again, we are asking, government should be truthful about the numbers that we are talking about. We shouldn't just be calling towns like Mepe and a few places as if that is the only place that is flooding. We know the trajectory of the Akosombo, the Volta Lake. So it is not just about the community. It's whole. They mentioned Ministry of Agri. Yeah. Do we really have an idea what extent of damage that has been done across these districts? We think whether the president is going to give the state of emergency, we as ordinary citizens can only now cry to the representatives of the people. If Parliament can reconvene and perhaps make a case for their own people, for government to declare that state of emergency. And then let's be able to give a more holistic approach to intervening in a situation that we have with the Akosombo Dam village.
The calls for punitive measures, the fact that even VRA saw this coming, the communities were informed closer to the day of the spillage. Do you feel someone should be taking responsibility for this by now?
Well, I have seen documents from cabinet committees headed by the chief of staff having discussion about this. We don't know exactly what had happened. Who reneged on their responsibility for which we are into this situation. The VRA has engineers. Yeah. We've seen counter statements between the VRA and PR department and the Ghana Meteorological Authority saying different things. I think at this material moment, I would want to put emphasis on providing solutions for the people, the victims who are suffering. Then, afterwards, we may have to look at what really happened and come out with a comprehensive report for us to know exactly what happened. Then we can decide on who to hold accountable or who to punish for the incidents that were. For now, I think it's too early to call for anybody's head when we don't know exactly what.
I see. Let me take you to the area now. My colleague Carlos Kaloni has been there ever since the spillage started. Carlos, if you can hear me, the point about where we are today, the Vice President just speaking a while ago, what more commitment is it giving to the community in terms of providing some relief? Because that's the concern, the immediate one at least, for many of the flooding victims.
All right, Blessed. So the Vice President was in town today. He visited a number of places, including New Bakpa in the Central Tong District, as well as South Tong, specifically in Sokpe, and he actually expressed his sympathy to the people here having, this particular situation that they are faced with. And he personally donated 160,000 cedis to the 8 affected districts to help in relief items. And so that has been his personal commitment so far. But indeed, he reiterated government's commitment to alleviating the plight of the flood victims across the 8 districts in the Volta, Eastern, and the Greater Accra region. And I must say that the flood waters are still high across these 8 districts, specifically in Mepe, where houses have been submerged. If you come to Sogakope and its environs, Sokpe, Bakpa, and all those places, they are still battling with the flood waters here. And so the situation is not gone down at all. Residents are, going through a lot. Some houses have also been destroyed. Specifically in Bakpa, for instance, the Mankralo of the town gave the number that about 40 houses have actually collapsed so far, and about 1,200 people have had to move from one of the islands to higher ground. So the situation is still dire here. And if you go to Adan in the Greater Accra region, the situation is equally worrying there. As we speak, NADMO officials are on their way to one of the islands there to assess the situation. As part of the Greater Accra region.
You can hear me. There are concerns also about the health of the people who have been forced to use polluted water as we speak. The Ghana Medical Association yesterday deploying some of its team members over fears that there could be another outbreak in the community due to the health concerns. What's the status now, and what more can you tell us?
All right, Blessed. Indeed, residents of Sokpe, they are in the South Tong district of the Volta region. They have been telling us that for about 2 weeks now, their taps are not flowing, and they've had to depend on water from the lake, which is heavily polluted. And they have been using this water for their domestic chores. They use it to cook, prepare food. That's what they buy. That's what some even drink. And to the extent that those who even sell tilapia along the road use the same polluted water to actually wash and prepare the fish that they sell. And this is raising a lot of concerns with regards to health issues. And so, like you rightly said, the Ghana Medical Association is in town, and we are told currently that they are in the North Tong district. And so I have with me here the District Chief Executive of South Tong to give us details what they've been hearing so far from the Ghana Medical Association and what their own arrangement at the district level is to tackling this particular looming health disaster. You're live on Joy News. So tell us, we understand some of your people, specifically in Sokpe, they say they are depending on the lake water, and this actually will pose some danger to their health. What is the district assembly doing to ensure that at least we're able to minimize any health situations that we may face?
Thank you very much for listening to me. My name is Seth Kosiagbi, Honorable DC for South Tong District. In fact, the whole thing started last 2-3 weeks when we had our steering committee meeting in Akosombo. I've been briefed about the incoming spillage. So quickly when we came, we met with the assemblymen and we give them all this information. that they should go to their community, the traditional areas, and then meet with their chiefs and inform them of the incoming spillage. We are not expecting volume of this now.
Okay.
But nature by nature, we cannot do anything by holding the rain not to fall. Before I realize we are in this mess. Actually, I had my health management committee meeting. That was last week, Wednesday. Now we sat down, we charged the district's health director to have a meeting with his staffs so they can, the chief compounds, so to go to the hinterland and start educating the people at the health side of the situation. So they are on it. As I'm talking to you now, they are on the field, giving education. But to say, because we educate them, because the water is polluted, a lot of, what do you call, the safety tanks and then the pig latrines have emerged into water. So we advise them, nobody should touch the water. So we started giving them pure water, sachet. We have those who have money should go and buy it. So, Southtown, we have 23 communities affected. 23.
33 or 23?
23 communities affected. No, Southtown, we have 5 traditional areas. Vume, Tefle, Sokpe, Agave, and Fievie. That's from Southtown district. So we started educating our people not to go into the river to swim, because for now, we know the water is contaminated.
Okay, so beyond the education, what specific actions is the assembly taking to mitigate any health crisis that we might face due to the spillage?
The first is education. You have to educate them.
Yes. You've said that. So beyond that, what are you doing?
Education, we deploy the nurses to the communities to educate them. So after that, we started supplying the pure water, sachet water. Yeah, because the water is polluted. Okay. So that's exactly what we are doing. Okay. Until the VRA and the NABO came in with their support. Okay. Then from there, yesterday we received about 1,000 sachet waters. We started distributing to the communities. And then one of the benevolent organizations also donated about sachet water to the chiefs. The chiefs are also given to their communities.
So you think that with this donation, you'll be able to reduce any danger that this lake might pose in terms of public health?
Not to the minimum. Not to the minimum. Because I've been saying that before, during, and after. It will continue. Not today. It's about 3 months or 4 months to come, we'll be in this mess. So we have to be very careful the way we handle issues. So what we are doing now, we are put in place, and then we ask the NADMO people to bring in more water, especially water. Not food, water. Because food, we can get it from the hinterland or anybody, but the water is very serious.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Blessed. So that actually the district chief executive for Southtown District, Seth Agbe, he's been detailing some steps the assembly is taking to ensure that they're able to reduce any health crisis that might come with this particular spillage. But then earlier, you know, the chiefs and the people of this Bakpa traditional area as well as Sokpe, they have been interacting with the vice president, and the vice president actually donated some amounts to them. Prior to that donation, they were making some demands, and I'm privileged to have with me the paramount chief of the Sokpe traditional area to give us details of these demands they are making. One of those demands they made actually was the fact that they wanted the vice president to champion the core, where they want to be relocated to Saglemi housing unit, looking at the situation here. So here we have the paramount chief of the Sokpe traditional area to give us details why they want to go to the Saglemi area. Why is that demand?
Thank you for the opportunity. You know, I earlier said accommodation has become a problem for my people. And looking around the area, there is no safe place immediately to say my people should go. But I know the place at Saglemi is there without anybody occupying the place. Since we are also part of the country, it is our wish that instead of leaving that place unused, it will serve a good purpose, sending some of our people who are displaced at the present to be put there until a suitable place is found for them. That place, we chose that place because right now nobody is there. The houses are many, and it is a hilly area, and we don't expect the flood to extend to that area. That is why I think it will be appropriate sending some of our people who are displaced to be there.
All right, so we are also aware that the vice president actually made some donation to the 8 districts that have been affected, including the township of Sunkwa. And this 160,000 cedis is supposed to go to these 8 communities. What do you, personally from the vice president, what do you make of this particular donation to you people?
This donation has come at an appropriate time. And it will be put into a very good use. However, that amount will not be sufficient for us for what we are demanding for. That is why, apart from that donation, we need more support from the government. This is his personal donation and cannot cover everything that we want. We are pleased he has done that. We are very grateful to him, but we still need more.
All right, thank you so much. So, Blessed, that was the paramount chief of the Sunkwa traditional area. Giving our details of what they are looking forward to as they battle this particular crisis on their hand, where houses are being demolished by these flood waters, and people have been displaced. A lot of people have moved out of the Sunkwa township as we speak, and so part of the town has become a ghost community, and that's how hard the situation is here in South Tong district of the Volta region. So, Blessed, that's the picture for you from the South Tong district.
My colleague Carlos Caloni keeping an eye on this very sad development, and Kojo, we need to go, but let me take your thoughts on the very concluding comments from the traditional ruler, the demand to relocate all displaced persons to the Saglame housing project. It seems far-fetched to me. I don't know.
No, but if you ask me, it's a good call. He gave all the parameters to consider.
Yeah, looking at the distance,
not only the distance. I said, right. We even estimated that this situation is in 7 districts.
Right.
But as your colleague mentioned, it's even 8. They are much more than we think. That's why I'm saying that the situation is bigger than what we are thinking. Now, the people are in the community, and the entire community is submerged.
Right.
Certainly, there will be health implications. So what we are asking them is to evacuate all the people from these communities. Because
so you support the Saglame move?
Very much so. For 6 years or so, these buildings have been there without doing anything with it. We're only hearing it's being played with politics. Each of the parties saying one thing or the other. Now we are in emergency. This is not about politics right now. We need to attend to the thousands of people, especially women and children, who have been displaced from their homes. It is not a home, and let's be very frank. The Meteorological Service Authority is telling us that the rains will still continue to come.
Right.
The dam will still be full. The spillage would continue. So we are not dealing with a short-term thing. We think that it's important to safeguard the people, to ensure the health of the people, protecting women, children, and the likes. It will be very important to evacuate them. And if the Saglame housing project is there to serve as a safe haven for them, why wouldn't the government consider it?
I see. And personally, as a group, are you doing anything to support the community? Are you planning on doing anything in the coming days?
Ours is do the advocacy that we're not just releasing statements. We're trying to engage as many, but we are not into relief, so that is not our core area. I would encourage people who are doing so, and then as we mentioned in our statement, those who are also soliciting for relief should ensure that it really gets to the people, and then to make sure that they
Okay, grateful for your time, Kujo, for joining us. And of course, from the Volta region, the future of the National Cathedral hangs in the balance following the resignation of founder of Action Chapel Churches, Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, and also president of the Eastwood Anaba Ministries, Eastwood Anaba, from the National Cathedral Board of Trustees. The clergyman cited failure on the part of the Cathedral Board to approve and also appoint an independent accounting firm to audit all public funds contributed to the National Cathedral project. Well, my colleague Kukwa Santi has been looking into the document and comes through with a breakdown of some of the reasons for the resignation.
This letter from Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and Reverend Eastwood Anaba points to two things. First, these two men of God say that they tried several attempts to meet the president and to share their concerns, but they could not do so. And let me read specifically what the letter says. It says that you may recall a request for an appointment with you to specifically discuss the National Cathedral of Ghana, a vision of yours that we share and cherish. We truly understand that the demands of the nation and indeed the world have been placed upon your shoulders may have prevented the realization of this meeting. So this meeting that was requested by these two men of God to discuss their concerns with the president did not come up. And because of this, they put together this letter resigning, and they have specific concerns. They say that they had requested for an audit into some funds that have been paid into the National Cathedral Fund and a number of issues that have happened around the cathedral. We know that some of the Kujeto Black in particular have been leading a crusade and have been making claims that there were some irregularities around the construction, and he thought that that forensic audit would be necessary. These two men of God joined the cause and made a similar demand. They say that to the best of their knowledge, they have not seen the findings of the audit. They cannot also confirm if that audit has taken place, and they've been waiting for this report since January of this year, and 10 months down the line, they've not gotten this, and because of this, they have decided that it is better for them to step aside from their roles on the National Cathedral Trustees Board. Not that they do not believe in the vision of the president to erect this National Cathedral, but they believe that a number of these issues have made their continuous stay on the board untenable. The founder of Lighthouse Chapel, Lighthouse Churches, Reverend Bishop Sunkwa-Mills, also resigned. So these two men of God have joined Pastor Mensa Otabel and Sunkwa-Mills, who had already resigned from the board, bringing to the total four members who have resigned. But still, there are still a number of men of God and other people of means who are still on this board. Apostle Professor Popo Nina, who is former chairman of the Church of Pentecost, is still on the board. Archbishop Charles Palmer-Bakel is still on. Most Reverend Bishop Justice Ofea Kofi is still on. Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, the former moderator of the Presbyterian Church, is still on. We also have one other, Most Reverend T.K. Awashi Pratt, who is still on. Reverend Dr. Joyce Ayi, Executive Director of the Salt and Light Ministry, is still on. And then Reverend Victor Kusiboate, the founder of the Power Chapel Worldwide, is still a member. Reverend Dr. Frimpong Manso, a former General Superintendent of the Assemblies of God, is still on. And then finally, Kingsley Ofosu in Tiamoa, who's the Executive Director of the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board, are still. These are the persons who are still on the National Cathedral Board of Trustees. No work has been done on the side of the National Cathedral because the state has run out of money. The Cathedral Secretariat have also run out of money. The expectations that a number of donations will come in have not come in since that started. And because of that, construction have halted. In fact, a few months ago, we saw a notice from the contractors who are undertaking this construction, instructing that the employees are relieved of their duties with the exception of a few security men who are still on site to protect the facility. The minority are demanding a forensic audit. In fact, before Parliament went on break, they actually approved a resolution to investigate the National Cathedral Board. It was just a committee that was not set up. It was expectation that when Parliament resumes, that committee will be put in place to investigate the construction of that National Cathedral. We've also heard from Adam Senano, who says that if you look at the very prominent men of God who are on this board of trustees, it makes it a bit difficult for the president to dissolve it, because if you dissolve it, then going forward, how do you get to work with them? And so he says that the president would have to navigate this quite carefully, but he insists, like many people, that because of the controversy the National Cathedral has been embroiled in since it was announced and since construction began, it is clear that there is some deeper introspection that must be done, and the funding model must be relooked at so that if it's a Christian community, another 1 million Ghanaians who want to support the project, they can do so.
Well, in the last few minutes, the National Cathedral Secretariat has released a statement clarifying some issues relating to the resignation of these leading clergymen who are now moving out of the Board of Trustees, and it's titled Archbishop Duncan Williams and Reverend Sudanaba, press release from the National Cathedral of Ghana, indicating that, first of all, the attention of the Secretariat has been drawn to a letter addressed to the President, cited in the media before board members actually received copies of the resignation of two members of the board. That's Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and also Reverend Istudanaba. The reason given in their letter of their resignation is said to be the lack of any information whatsoever following the January 23, 2023 resolution calling for an audit of the National Cathedral project and a complete cessation of work on the project. The second paragraph talks about the fact that following the presentation of their resolution to the January 23, 2023 meeting of the board, which the board rejected, but which still found its way into the media, both Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and also Reverend Istudanaba fully participated via Zoom in an emergency meeting the next day, which was the 24th of January 2023, to develop a press release on the issue. The press release included information on the audit, which was to be conducted by the international audit firm Deloitte, as indicated. Now, following this, the engagement letter for Deloitte to officially begin the audit was drafted and signed by Deloitte on that was on the 27th of March 2023, and then the setup of their system on the 17th of May 2023. The expectation was that the first part of the audit was to be completed in July 2023. The audit process so far can be confirmed with the auditors, that's Deloitte, and the board was constantly updated on the progress of work through the chairperson and the steering committee, as well as the executive director's reports to the meetings of the board. For instance, the executive director's report to the June 5, 2023 meeting included the following update on the audit. First of all, part 3, which talks about the financial audit of that meeting, noted that the auditors, Deloitte, are currently in the middle of the audit and are receiving the cooperation of the Secretariat. Similarly, at the 27th of September 2023 meeting, the executive director equally updated the board on the audit and included the following in his rating report, indicating, quote, delayed audit report. The audit report by Deloitte is actually needed to begin the fundraising campaign. Following a number of delays due to documentation, it is now hoped that the audit will be completed soon to enable fundraising restarts in earnest, unquote. 6. Although Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and Reverend Istudanaba were not present at both the June 2023 and September 2023 meetings, they and all other board members who were not physically present at the meeting were sent copies of all documents for board meetings, including the executive director's report. The claim that they have received no information whatsoever on the audit process is therefore false. It needs to be stressed that the January 2023 resolution of Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and Reverend Istudanaba was rejected by the board on two grounds. First, their call for a complete cessation of all activities on the project until an audit was done was redundant, as the meeting already had an agenda on audits. Then the second point is that perhaps more critical, their resolution was rejected because of its linkage to the 2024 elections. As Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams explained, the National Cathedral has become a trusted weapon in the hands of the opposition, which they intend to use as part of their 2024 election strategy, explaining that he had seen a part of the game plan. He argued that unless the board agrees with the plan to cease all works on the project until the 2024 elections, the opposition will come after each of them, create divisions in the board, and be relentless in their opposition to the project. This was rejected because of the undue politicization of the project this completion would entail. Then the ninth point is talking about the fact that the Secretariat of the National Cathedral is not unaware of the numerous attempts to politicize and also cause disaffection for the project through fabrications and outright lies. But as we have always insisted, the National Cathedral project has been implemented with integrity, and we work closely with the auditors to ensure that they complete their work, which will be shared with the general public. And that's signed by Dr. Opoku Mensah, the Executive Director for the National Cathedral. And this is just coming through here on the Joy News channel, and we'll definitely be updating you as and when we have some more details. Okay, let's check out what's happening elsewhere, because German Chancellor Olaf Scholz was one of the first foreign heads of states to visit Israel on Tuesday in the wake of the Hamas deadly terror attack. His visit underscores both the global significance of the tensions in the region as well as Germany's particular commitment to ensuring Israel's existence and security. DW's Emily Schulz is in Berlin, joins us with more details on this international conversations with our partners, the DW. Thank you, Emily, for spending some time with us. What did Scholz do while he was in Israel, and what was his message there to the people?
Sure. So Chancellor Scholz met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and also with the Israeli president. And in addition to that, he met with families of German citizens who are believed to be held hostage by Hamas at the moment. And so his message while he was in town was really just to strongly reiterate the extent to which Germany is committed to ensuring Israel's security, condemning the violence, and also urging caution in terms of trying to make sure that whatever happens next with Israel's plans in Gaza, that humanitarian aid or humanitarian concerns are being paid attention to. And his visit came, amid security concerns. There were moments where he had to, due to air raid sirens and things, had to shelter in place. We've obviously seen since then there's been a huge attack on a hospital that killed over 500 people, and it comes as President Joe Biden is also planning to arrive in town. So it's a very busy week and quite a significant moment with visits from world leaders.
And even as we speak, the US president is also there right now, so that's the update on that. But what makes Germany's relationship with Israel unique, and what does it mean when Germany says Israel's security is a, quote, reason of state?
See a lot of solidarity from world leaders in general, and that's in President Biden's visit is one example of that. But I think that the difference between that and Germany is that given the history of Nazi Germany, given the history of the Holocaust, it is a higher priority for the German state, and it is something that is sort of enshrined in German foreign policy. This idea that the security of Israel is a primary, or is a very high concern for Germany, and sometimes it's not totally clear what that means in practice. But here, I think you're seeing that being defined in these moments where you really do have a focus from Germany on making sure that there is aid, making sure that there is solidarity, and seeing that as sort of a crucial piece of Germany's foreign policy identity.
And what do we know about Germany and other foreign citizens who are included amongst the hostages in Gaza, and what's been done there to free them?
Sure. So that was part of, as I mentioned, that's part of what Scholz focused on while he was in Israel. We do know that there are some dual citizens. There's not been a number specifically released, but there are German citizens believed to be held hostage. This is one of the things where you see a number of different countries working on this issue. There are American citizens, there are French citizens, there are citizens of several other nations as well. And so it's a fast-moving and tricky situation, but it is one issue where you see foreign governments really trying to engage on this and to figure out what the next steps will be in a very intense and fast-moving situation.
I see. Emily Shorties with our partners DW joining us here on The Pulse, and that's all we have for you in this package. I'm Les Esogan. Log on to myjoyonline.com for updates. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.